What is the difference between commercial and residential construction? In this video, I'm going to talk to you about those differences because I'm sure you're considering this question because you're either wanting to know what field you should go into, you want to know more about it, or you have a vested interest in some aspect of this that will help you to make a decision. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you about what the differences are, how to look at it, and give you kind of a footing so you know exactly where you're headed. Oh, and some other, I would say probably concepts and misconceptions about both that will help you as you decide whatever it is you're deciding between residential and commercial construction. So stay with us. All right, so let's get right into it. So I grew up in the commercial and the industrial realm of construction, like in that industry with very, very large general contractors building commercial and industrial construction projects. And I've also been involved in residential. So single family, townhomes, multifamily, lots of residential as well. And I would actually loop in civil in there as well. When we look at this from an overall perspective, this is don't get me in trouble right now. Don't get me in trouble. This is how the industry typically looks at it. And I don't think it's right. And then I'm going to make up for this in just a minute. But people typically look at residential as easy, fast paced, a little bit more rogue, like Wild Wild West. Not, and I don't believe this, workers that aren't as proficient, right? Standards that are a lot lower. And in some cases that might be the case. And residential is kind of looked at. Oh, the other big thing is that it's very, very volatile, especially in the United States when it comes to market demand and the recessions that we enter into and the pace at which we are building residential projects. Commercial is looked at to be much more complex, much more high-end, much more expensive, much more professional. An environment where you need like a higher end or a higher magnitude of worker, foreman, and trade partner. And commercial and industrial construction, but let me talk about commercial here, is looked at to be less volatile, meaning in recessions or even a mild depression, economically, commercial contractors, industrial contractors fare better. I've been through a number of these recessions, and I remember the leaders that I had, my bosses, saying, hey, we've got about 18 months to 2 years before this economy affects us because our projects last longer. Whereas a lot of residential contractors, you hear they go out of business in a recession, they have much more difficulty, or workers and foremen have a harder time getting and keeping work during a recession with the residential market. Now, so typically we look at residential here, commercial and industrial here. Now, I do want to say, I look at both of them equally. Personally, I believe the process and the complexity and the speed offset some of the things that make residential easier. Meaning, like if commercial says residential is easier because it doesn't have as many trades, it doesn't have the longer duration, or it doesn't have the structural requirements or the different materials, I would also say yeah, but you're dealing with a lot more of them at a faster pace and there's other complexities. Really, the truth is residential construction and commercial construction are both difficult. They can both be clean, safe, and organized, which is key. They can both be scheduled properly. The workers and foremen, from my experience, are the same. The only thing that's different is the expectations, meaning on a commercial project, we do not tolerate a lack of safety. In residential, people tolerate less safety, less professionalism, but the people are still just as cool. So I look at residential and commercial as equal in complexity and importance and in capability when it comes to the workers. So I do not look down on residential projects at all, because if you took a commercial builder or a commercial and industrial builder like me, who is used to a large team, used to a large budget, used to the systems, used to the expectations, and you put me in a residential environment, it would be a much different experience to hold those same standards of safety, cleanliness, and organization and worker care and get the same thing done with the budgets that we have at that same fast pace. I do want you to know that there isn't really difference from how important they are or how capable the workers are, but residential is more volatile. Commercial is less so. Commercial projects are larger. Residential projects are shorter. And residential projects, just like the name suggests, are primarily to occupy for somebody's residence, and commercial is specifically for business purposes. So let's go ahead and talk about a couple of these differences right now. Oh, real quick, you know what the difference is with you? The difference about you is when you see a good YouTube channel, you like and subscribe because you know you want more. So if you like this content or any of the other videos videos we produce. Please like and subscribe. We love it when you do that. It shares the information, and people from literally all around the world get to participate with the content, and I hope you love it. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So let's talk about the differences in purpose. Commercial construction is intended for buildings that support offices, restaurants, retail, business functions. Residential specifically caters to residences where people live. That could be single family, multifamily, condominiums, where people live. That's residential. Scale and complexity. Commercial projects are larger. They are more complex, especially architecturally, right? And they are at a larger scale, and they cost lots of money and take a long time to get them done. So if somebody was like, hey, Jay Money, this building is going to take 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, I'm like, that's old news. Like, that doesn't surprise me at all. Coming from residential, where a project might take 3 to 9 months, right? Or let's even say a year, hopefully not. But those numbers, the sheer scale of a commercial project can seem overwhelming. Residential, they're faster, right? The durations are shorter. They are a quicker turnaround. They are smaller projects, less capital from a funding standpoint. So that's how they're different in scale. All right, now let's talk about design and functionality. So this is actually really important. So a commercial project will focus on functionality, right? How will the business meet its needs and create flow, which is really key, right? You'll see like accounting areas, loading docks, you will see queuing areas, entry lobbies, like things that add to the functionality of that commercial space. Residences or residential are, and this is important for a builder to know, is specifically tailored to comfort, aesthetics, personal appearances, the preferences of the end users, right? What would create a remarkable experience for the people living there so they can be comfortable. In some instances, you're wanting to merge both of them, but really comfort is the priority, even sometimes over functionality. But in a commercial project, functionality and the functioning of the business can trump comfort. In both scenarios, oh, here's my message. Don't get me wrong on this. In both scenarios, I'd like us to take care of both. I'd like to see more commercial buildings taking care of the comfort of the actual people working in the space. And I would really like to see comfortable residences that were also very practical, efficient, and functional. But those are the different purposes. Regulations and codes. So commercial construction projects have stricter regulations like building codes, fire safety standards, and accessibility requirements. Residential construction still may have some of those same basic requirements, but they're much less stringent and less of them, and so there's a lot more flexibility. Let's talk about financing. Commercial projects are very complex to finance, right? The organization might be selling bonds, they might be saving money, funding it personally, getting bank loans, investing, or getting money from investors, right? A very complex process to fund a large project like that. A residential project, you're typically going to fund that based off of a loan or a mortgage, and they're often much more straightforward. Number 6, project management. Again, the project management requirements for a commercial construction project are much more intense. You will need dedicated supervision, which I like, by the way. Superintendent, project manager, engineers on the project site are there to manage it throughout. Residential projects, while it's still required and it's still important, again, much less stringent. It's not uncommon for homes to be built without constant supervision and to have a superintendent in charge of 5 to 20 different homes and to rarely ever step foot on site unless it's absolutely necessary. And lastly, the timeline. Commercial construction projects take an incredible amount of time, and residential projects take a shorter amount of time. Unless you're talking about a custom built home that's super big, and I once heard of a $35 million custom home with like 35 different bathrooms and alligator skin ceilings, and so that might not be shorter, but the overall perspective, residential projects are much shorter than commercial. And so these are some of the differences. And let me tap into one other concept here. If you want to be a part of a large team, longer projects, really complex architectural finishes, heavy MEP, lots of training, more access to funds, you'll probably want to head in the commercial construction pathway if that's the career you're heading towards. From a residential standpoint, if you're looking for more quick hitting, faster, more projects from a scale standpoint, and for you as a supervisor, and you are specifically looking towards that single family, multifamily, condominium type structure, townhomes, right? Then you might be wanting to head into the residential market. And again, this one's more volatile. Commercial construction construction's more stable. This is a little bit harder to get into, but these are the differences and they're both important. So you can be excellent in both realms. So the world is your oyster. I hope you've enjoyed this little video. We're going to put the differences in 2 columns side by side on a Canva document for you. If you have any questions, let us know. Reach out in the comments section below, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. On we go.